Welcome to 3 to Play Reviews, where we give you our thoughts on the newest games and gaming-related media. Today we strap on our visors and head into the Oasis with our review of Ready Player One. And here to review this movie is...
Tom?
Becca?
And I'm Josh. And just a fair warning, there will be spoilers in this podcast. Press start.
Come with me, and you'll be in a world of novel adaptation.
I like that.
That was good. That was
Thanks.
reminiscence to one of the first trailers to this movie.
Yeah, I'm using a reference. Something this movie does a lot.
What?
Yeah.
Tell me more, Tom.
All right. So, in a nutshell, because we're not the kind of podcast that's going to spend in excess of an hour plus talking about a movie. What is Ready Player One about? It's a Willy Wonka-esque quest where the creator of a popular VR video game world dies and says, hey, if you find the Easter eggs I left within the game, I'll give you complete control of it. And when your game's the most popular economic resource in the world, you want control of it. So we have our main character Parzival and his friends H, Artemis, Chow, and Daito, and they're trying to solve these puzzles while being pursued by an evil internet company called IOI. And they make it through the quests while learning things about themselves and about James Halliday, the mystery man who created this world and died. And at the end, they have this big battle where the users of the Oasis come together to fight the evil internet corporation that's trying to destroy basically net neutrality. Wade/Parzival gets control of the Oasis when he solves the final puzzle and learns a lesson about indulging too much in fantasy worlds, not facing the real world. And they defeat the evil internet corporations and all live happy fandom lives. Now that's out the way. What'd you guys think of the movie?
This was the adult version of Wreck-It Ralph for me.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty much the best way I could put that. All the good parts of Wreck-It Ralph, they pretty much just amped it up with the Steven Spielberg-esque throughout the entire movie. All of the pop culture references that I can think of, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. It is not the best when it comes to stories, very predictable, but I think from the Easter egg and kind of the, oh, did you see that person? Oh, did you see this person? Or, going back and rewatching it and seeing all the extra stuff that you don't notice because your eyes are focused one way when you're watching it to the next way. I thoroughly enjoyed it, though.
Okay. Becca, what'd you think?
I liked it. I thought it was fun. It was fast-paced and entertaining. It was funny. I laughed a lot. I got a lot of the references, which is always enjoyable. I hate being the person that's like, why is everybody laughing? It felt immersive because it was part of the VR world. You got to see a lot of familiar things. And like you said, Josh, there was stuff that I didn't catch that you brought up. I'm like, wait, that was in there? I didn't see it. It makes me want to go back and just watch it again to see what I missed, to see what characters were in there, to see if I notice anybody else that I didn't notice the first time.
Yeah, walking out of the movie, it's like you're walking out with just a giant nostalgic boner, though, because it's all of the references to it. Tom?
Yeah.
Now, you're the movie guy of the group. What was your personal take on the film?
I enjoyed the movie a lot. I think it's a lot of fun. It's probably some of the coolest spectacle I've seen in a bit. Very good stuff. Spielberg is a very terrific director of action, even in his old age. He knows what things look cool. He knows what audiences want to see, and he knows how to put all these parts together, and it's really, really fun. Like you guys, I enjoyed, seeing a lot of things that I enjoy up on the screen, and I thought it was really cool. I thought the cast is pretty good. Score's terrific. Just it's a good movie. It's a good looking movie. It moves at a good pace. I will say that while it's got some interesting ideas behind it, the one thing I will fault the movie for is that I don't think it ever fully commits to any of the big ideas that are within the film. it says, like, it presents them, and we can go into this later if you want, but it's just like, hey, that's an interesting concept. Oh, you're not gonna do anything with it. Okay, I mean, fine, that's fine. Just move along. At least there's something, at least there's an entertaining set piece coming up to kind of make up for that. So it's good.
One thing that really bothered me about the movie, though, was how fast the two main characters became love interest.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like one scene they just met, the second scene they're on a date already, and he's already telling her he loves her. Like, what? I know he kind of did the whole, like, oh, I followed her on Twitch and I watched all of her stuff and stuff, but it was just like, man, that was really fast. And then like she was perfectly fine with it, and then they met in the real world, and it was like, oh, we love each other already. It's like, well, man, you jumped all over that really fast.
Yeah. Well, no, see, that's what I mean. Like, so when he declares his love for her, which he does basically out of nowhere and prematurely, at first she's like upset because she's like, you don't know the real me. We've never met in real life. And that's like kind of an interesting message. It's like, hey, if we get too immersed in social media, we can form these kind of like attachments and ideals to people we've never met. And that's not good. But then, like you said, the second they meet in the real world, it's like, oh, we're pretty chill with each other, you know? So it's what I said, like, the movie has ideas that it doesn't commit to. It just says, like, this is an idea. Let's never talk about it again, you know? Like,
I wonder if the book kind of dragged those things out a little bit more and that it was just rushed because it was in a movie. I don't know the answer to that, but
actually in the book, he doesn't meet her until like one of the last pages.
Mm-hmm. In the real world anyway.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so they definitely were pushing things together for movie's sake. So I can kind of understand that, but I agree. It was like, okay, now you guys are dating. Cool. Like,
yeah, it was so fast and just out of the blue that it happened. But
should we put up a disclaimer real quick, just for, and if anyone's gonna cage us in the comment section? None of us have read the book. We're trying to keep this solely a movie review, but I mean, I think some of us we're all familiar with the book, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Or at least the response to the book. So there's that. Yeah, like I said, like, for every great, really cool piece of like spectacle that I could gush about from this movie, I'll just say, like, there's one thing where it's like, hey, you were on an interesting nugget of something that you didn't go anywhere with. Did you guys get what the loyalty centers were supposed to be when they were initially talking about them?
Not at first, not until I actually saw them in motion.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, oh, okay, so they're pretty much like slave labor.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, you can't pay for your loot boxes, so we get to make you do like you said, slave labor.
Yeah.
But I feel like, again, like, it's like, that's some kind of weird Twilight Zone commentary on like where gaming payments could go.
Mm-hmm.
And the movie's just like, this is just a thing, but we're not gonna, like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, it was just crazy that the bad guys in the movie, IOI,
Mm-hmm.
like, their intentions were to make people pay to play in the Oasis.
Yeah.
Or pay premiums or have ads popping up all over their HUDs and stuff like that. And, like, that's pretty much what we're experiencing now in gaming.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how many times you download a game on your phone or on your tablet and it's nothing but ads, or you have to pay to play Xbox Live or PlayStation Plus, or hey, buy this and you'll get this included with it, or buy this and we'll throw this in, or pre-order today and get this. And it's just like, man, like, everyone's out there to just try to make money off of this thing that people love. Mm-hmm. And that's what the bad guys are doing. They're just trying to take over so they get more money.
Yep. What'd you guys think of the cast?
It was all right. The only person I really knew other than Simon Pegg and TJ Miller and Sorrento, I forget the actor's name,
Ben Mendelsohn,
was the main character, Ty Sheridan, just from the X-Men movie, X-Men Apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone else, like, was kind of like, I don't know who these people are, but I mean, they did fine.
Right.
I almost didn't recognize Holiday, Mark Rylance. I'm like, I know that guy. And afterwards I Googled who it was. I'm like, oh my God. Like, he just, the hair, he looked perfect in that role. I thought he was probably the best choice for that role. He did a great job of being the nerdy, awkward, sheltered,
Sad.
sad, lonely computer genius who built something beautiful but didn't really experience a lot in the real world.
Wasn't able to appreciate
Yeah.
the finer things in life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Mark Rylance is the MVP of the movie, honestly. A close second is Lena Waithe as H, who's a supporting character in Wade's Little Gang. She's previously known to me from the Netflix show Master of None, and she's like really funny and really charming in that show, and she brings all that energy here. So I think she was really, really good in this.
Yeah, we laughed really hard when H was talking to Parzival, warning him that he shouldn't fall in love so fast with someone he's never met. He doesn't know what type of person Artemis actually is. And H gives a little speech about how it's probably some dude sitting in his mom's basement named Chuck. And that just made us laugh because it's so true. Like, you never know who these people are on the internet or on social media, but it was such a best friend moment of, oh, I met this girl online, I really like her, and your best friend's like, dude, it's probably a dude. Like, it's so true and lifelike, and I really liked it.
I get you.
So do you think they overutilized a lot of the cameos to the point where it kind of took you away from what was happening on screen to kind of focus and see if there was anything you couldn't see in the background?
I wanted to see more. I believe I said to you afterwards, I wished that when they had the giant fight scene towards the end where everyone was coming to storm the castle, I wish they would have made it maybe 5 minutes longer and just kind of zoomed in on two notable video game characters fighting and then zoomed in on another two movie characters fighting, just to give you that nostalgic little taste of, oh, like, look at that, that's so cool. And, have Parzival and Artemis driving around and maybe just zooming in a little bit closer on Chucky, even though, and they had a good spot with Chucky, which was really funny. But
I want to champion arguably one of the top 5 best uses of fuck in a PG-13 movie.
Yes. I just when it cuts back to the IOI room and you just see everyone their things are all lighting up in red with everyone that he's just attacking. Yeah.
I laughed every time they did that when they went back to the war room, I think they called it, and you would see everybody dying, like in the Shining part where they're like, oh, we just have to make it through the Shining, and everyone is just screaming in real life, just screaming, and all these red lights are flashing because everyone's getting murdered.
I love with that scene too, it cuts into the Shining too to show everyone getting killed, and it keeps cutting back, like it keeps flashing between the two worlds.
Yeah, and it shows the naked zombie lady with the knife just like killing people. It was very well done.
The Shining scene was probably the biggest standout moment next to the end battle, and I'll get into like why I love that end scene so much. But yeah, it was just such a standout moment because it's like if you've seen The Shining or you are aware of anything that happens in The Shining, like you knew what was coming every scene, and to be able to watch a character not know what's coming next, it was just one of those things like you know what's happening, but you just want to see how it plays out.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think the references were overused. I know this movie has earned a bit of like pre-release controversy because everyone's like, oh, it's just going to be references and no actual like story or anything. They never overwhelmed me, and when they were the focus, I thought they were all used very enjoyably. Like, I didn't think anything was used poorly. Like Becca said, I actually, like, if I had more time, I would have been like, oh, sweet,
Right.
But yeah, nothing I can complain about in terms of the references.
So, were you guys surprised that we actually spent so much time in the Oasis? Because I know a lot of movies that use this as a gimmick, like, oh, look at all the nostalgic things in this movie, and like you spend like maybe 5-10 minutes in it and then that was it. For instance, like Wreck-It Ralph, the beginning of Wreck-It Ralph was like, look at all these video game characters that you know from the past and whatnot, and then they go into the racing game and then that was it. That's all you saw of those characters ever again. Mm-hmm. Were you surprised we spent that much time in the Oasis and got to see all this stuff throughout the entire movie?
I think there was a good ratio of, fantasy world to real world in it. I was never disappointed.
No, I thought it was perfect balance of being in the VR world and being in the real world. And if the whole movie would have been in the VR world, I don't think it would have bothered me, because that was the whole point of it. It just kind of showed that the VR world had consequences in reality.
Yeah.
So they played that nicely, I think.
I was worried, like, we're going to see a little bit of the Oasis in the beginning of the movie, and then the whole middle of it was going to be in the real world, and then we were just going to have, like, the final scene done in the Oasis again. But it was nice that we spent a good portion of this movie in the Oasis. Mm-hmm. So I like in the movie, too, like, it was not just, like, movies and video games that were kind of being referenced throughout. I was telling Becca, like, during the bar scene or the party scene that they go to, like, the bartenders were wearing, like, Devo hats.
Oh, that's really cool. I didn't notice that.
And I thought that was really awesome. Towards the end of the movie, when you are in Holiday's room, he actually has a poster hanging up of Rush 2112, but next to it, he has the Nintendo Power poster for A Link to the Past right next to it, too. And it was like, oh,
that's terrible.
Like, you could... Hey, don't say that. But it was one of those things like, yeah, I know you couldn't get Nintendo characters in the movie for obvious reasons, but it was just nice to see, like, there was so much love put into just the littlest details.
Stupid copyrights. So, can I drop a interpretation bomb on you guys?
Sure.
All right. I think the coolest thing about this movie, or at least the most jaw-dropping thing about this movie, I should say, is that Steven Spielberg snuck a secret George Lucas biopic into theaters and did it pretty damn effectively, in my opinion. James Halliday is a commentary on the life and career of George Lucas, and I'll explain why. So, it didn't all hit me at once, but, like, a lot of things add up to it. It starts with Mike Rylance playing James Halliday with, like, this soft-spoken kind of monotone voice, the way we get, like, from George Lucas interviews. It's just like, it's like, okay, that's a character choice. I didn't immediately pair it with Lucas, but I was like, all right. But then we have this idea that James Halliday is famous for creating this thing that he basically never topped, but it became a worldwide phenomenon that everyone hailed him for, and he, like, never really escaped it. And the corporate interests that went into maintaining this creation kind of ruined his life, isolated him, drove him away from certain people. And in particular, it caused him to lose the most, quote-unquote important woman in his life, to the extent that he erased her from his creation. And this is a big one just in terms of my opinion. If you know anything about the history of George Lucas, his first wife, Marcia Lucas, was an Academy Award-winning editor on the first Star Wars. Like, she was one of the people responsible for cutting that movie into making it what it was, and she subsequently had her hands in the development and production of the next two Star Wars movies. She helped him immensely. And in the mid-'80s, she left him for another man, and he spent... This is just speculation, but he had... Marcia Lucas, in modern reflections and retrospectives of Star Wars, is notably absent from the conversation. If you don't know the immediate history, you're not going to see her credited or championed. And a lot of people feel like that's on purpose. So, I don't know. I just was looking at the parallels between James Halliday and George Lucas's life, and I was like, if the end of this movie is not, a guy just saying, I'm really sad the way life passed me by while I was working on this one thing my entire life. I don't know. It's something. It's something.
Yeah. No, I totally get where you're coming from. I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's creepy. That's kind of cool, though.
That is, I mean, putting it into that type of perspective, like, it's creepy. Mm-hmm. Like,
like,
damn it, Tom, you had to get real on
the end of the movie, Halliday signs away his creation to someone else, the way Lucas signed away Star Wars, and Halliday presumably moves on the way George Lucas has moved on, because there's that little indication where, when Wade's in the room at the end with Halliday within the Oasis, he kind of indicates, he's like, how could you know all this information if you're not dead? Are you dead? And Halliday doesn't really answer him. So there's like this indication that maybe Halliday faked his death and moved on, to get away from all the pressures. I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, that's my interpretation bomb.
I like it.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Very, very interesting.
Well, let's call Spielberg and have him on the podcast.
Steve.
And he can explain if you're correct.
Does George know you did this?
I knew when it came down to the final key, they were playing Atari there on the TV. It was cool that I think the TV was set up on like one of those carts from like elementary school.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny when I saw that. But when they start playing all the games on the Atari, I was like, I knew exactly where it was going because it's iconic that it was the first Easter egg in a video game.
Yeah.
And it was weird that like, so this has been around for 40... No, I'm sorry. This has been around for 60, 70 years, this Easter egg. And these people didn't think that, like, oh, this person's talking about Easter eggs and it's going to unlock a big Easter egg in the game. And they didn't ever think to use the adventure Easter egg. Like, it's kind of seemed a little like the bad guy was too stupid to...
Well, the one girl brought it up when they were trying to figure out what game to use. I mean, they didn't know what the last challenge was going to be, but once the system popped up, the one girl kind of figured out and was like, wait, no, it's adventure. Like, figure this one out. But
It was just weird. Like, this is something you guys have... I mean, it's 2045, so you probably have unlimited access to the internet still. That you could have looked up and saw, like... Why is adventure important? And then boom, the very first video game Easter egg. Like, oh, okay. Like, it just...
I think it's Ready Player One, the film, kind of commentating on how, it's one thing to be like, say, like, oh, I'm a fan of something, but if you're not really engaging with the things you claim you're a fan of, you're just kind of being shallow about it. Like, even the girl who figured it out, she only just knew that, like, oh, adventure's on this list of things that James Halliday said he was a fan of, so just play it. Like, she just figured, oh, beating it was enough. It's kind of saying, like, if you really care about something, you should appreciate it on every level, not just like the surface level stuff. And that's why like Wade's epiphany, which allowed him to beat the game, was like, it's not about just playing it and saying, yeah, I played adventure. It's you've played adventure so much and you love it so much that you know everything, like, you know all of its finer details and stuff like that.
And it could be because we're pretty well knowledged in the video game world, like, to know what importance adventure had when it came to the Easter eggs and hidden stuff inside of games. That, like, when it got to the point, like, where you had to explain it to the audience, I'm just like, oh, yeah, there's not a lot of people that probably know why this is a big deal.
Yeah. The movie suffered from explaining a lot of things, I think.
Yeah.
And I thought that too with a lot of the 80s references. I wondered if a lot of the people in the theater who were 15
would know what Buckaroo Banzai is.
Yeah. And I looked around, I'm like, does that kid know what that outfit is? Or does that kid know what that reference is from? And
yeah.
So it was kind of nice. I didn't think it would be a movie for our generation, but it really was.
It got that Minecraft at the beginning.
It did have Minecraft at the beginning.
Throw those Gen Z kids a bone. Here's Minecraft.
And Overwatch and stuff, but it did have...
Oh, Battleborn.
Modern...
Don't forget Battleborn's in this movie.
Yes. So...
I bet in 2015 when they got the rights to Battleborn, they were like, score! This'll be huge in the movie.
Going to the end battle I want to talk about.
Sure.
That was like... when I was watching that, like, my head was like flying all over the screen. Like, I'm just like going all over the place trying to see everything, and I caught a pretty decent amount. There's probably so much I missed. I mean, everything from the Battletoads to the ostriches from Joust to, I mean, you had Tracer there. You had all the Street Fighter characters.
Chucky.
Yeah, Chucky, Freddy, and Jason were there. But like, there was one scene that I laughed at. And then when I left the theater, I was like, I wish they would have did it differently. And me and you've talked about it before, Becca, but when the IOI is driving through the city and it keeps looking at people in the real world, like fighting inside the Oasis, the one scene it cuts to 4 kids fighting and it cuts back and it's the Ninja Turtles fighting. And I thought that was, that scene was awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I was like kudos, thank God. Like, that was just a really nice, like, it just worked perfectly. And then there was the group of guys running, and then it cut back into the Oasis, and it was all the Spartans from Halo going in. I wish they would have did another cut like that, though, where it came back into the Oasis, and it was the entire cast of Overwatch.
Yeah, Tracer. Tracer was the only character really from Overwatch here.
Yeah, how much of a mark-out moment would that have been for people who play games nowadays, though? Like, people who didn't grow up with all this stuff in the past. Like, when they cut in and they see, like, Tracer and May and a giant mech diva and stuff like that. Like,
I want in the real world, you just see a group of 30 people standing around one person, just, like, beating them up.
Kicking.
And it cuts back to Oasis, and it's this cluster of color and shapes. Just that would be, you're right, that would be a great moment.
It was even funny in the beginning of the movie where Wade was kind of working his way down the stacks, and they showed like one guy was doing like a fighting simulator, the woman was doing like a striptease kind of thing. Like, that was funny to see. So it was nice to see at the end with the fight, like people in real life fighting, even though it's just in the video game.
Yeah, it was one of those things like, oh yeah, it's really cool in the Oasis, and then it cuts back into real world. It's like, fucking nerds.
Yeah.
It's just, well, that's the thing though. Like, you look at it, and like in VR world, like he's like, oh, I did this amazing experience inside like PlayStation VR or something like that. And then like when you're watching someone do it, like you look like an idiot.
Yeah,
and I think that's what added so much to the humor factor to that. But then my biggest mark out moment of the entire movie was when the Iron Giant was being used as a bridge. Mm-hmm. And when I saw underneath him it was lava, I knew exactly where this was going. And I had a grin on my face the entire time. I was like tapping Becca in the, I was like, you know what's going to happen. Like, it's going to happen. And then he fell into the lava, and then as he's going down, he just sticks his thumb up in the air, and I was just like, that. Thank you.
I called you. I texted you after I saw it. I was like, "There's at least 2 moments where I know you're gonna flip the hell out," and that was one of them.
Well, that's another one. Like, did the 14-year-old in the movie theater understand that reference? Like,
well, Doom Guy did it in Doom 2
that's
2017.
true.
So it's a reference. It's a reference to somebody either way, you know.
Double the reference.
But I mean, was there anything from like that end fight or something like that you've noticed, like, or you were like, holy shit, how did they do that, or how'd they get that person? Or
I thought the Gundam part was really awesome, where he's just sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting, and they're like, are you gonna get in this fight or what? And they're yelling at him in real life while he's just meditating, and he just what does he say? He's like, I choose the form of Gundam or something, and he just fucking wreaks havoc
on
Mechagodzilla. It was so cool.
Absolutely. I very much enjoyed that. A little annoyed that when he pulled the pin on the holy hand grenade, he didn't miscount like in Monty Python.
Yeah.
I was like, I was waiting for him to do the 1, 2, 5, but he didn't, and I was just like, all right. I guess we gotta just keep things moving. One of the cutest little gags I thought in the movie was so when Parzival wins the final challenge and Anorak's standing before him with the key, the final key. So in the real world, Wade's in a van that's being chased by IOI agents, and like they're ramming into the van, and every time it does, he falls over. So in the Oasis, Parzival keeps falling over, and Anorak's just like staring at him, flopping all over on the ground. Well, he's trying to give him the key, and Parzival can't take it. And so, like, finally, like, Anorak just goes, like, do you want it or not? It's
Yeah,
just, like,
that was funny.
I laughed out loud, and I still remember that because it's just such this great small gag.
Even him trying to put the key in the hole at the end,
Yeah.
where he's just, like, bouncing all over the place, and he keeps scratching up the lock and stuff like that. It was nice that they were working the real world into the game. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't one of those things, like, they didn't just, like, not think about. They put a lot of thought into like, if this was happening here, what's it going to look like there, and vice versa. Because like we were talking about with the everyone fighting in VR and how stupid it looks, and then getting knocked around in the real world, how stupid it looks inside the Oasis.
Yeah. And they even thought about it with the, I don't know what they called it, but it was like the treadmill thing where you could run at all angles. So even the setup that you had in there for the Oasis, the headset, the whole body suit that you could feel everything, the little like bungee cord things that were holding you up so you could jump around, and that treadmill, like it like you said, it was very smart. It thought about, okay, what would have to happen in real life for it to be very realistic in the Oasis.
They tried to cover up any type of plot holes that they would have had, but then put it around a love story that had just a lot of what to it.
But in terms of the universe's rules, they set them up and followed them through.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So in the tradition of our other podcasts that we have, let's just try to name some of our top 3 things from the movie.
Becca?
Okay, so my number 3, I really liked and laughed when Artemis made Parzival dress like Clark Kent to hide him. I thought that was cute. I thought it was funny. I liked how Parzival was like, I'm not wearing that. And then he ended up wearing it, and it had like the slick back hair and the silly face. So I thought that was funny.
If I'm remembering this correctly, didn't that not work? Like, didn't somebody still recognize him? And wasn't that like a joke about how Clark Kent's disguise is actually pretty bad?
No, it worked.
Oh, it did?
It worked.
Okay.
When they first went in, everyone saw him, and then she turned into Goro. She was Goro, and she pulled him in there and then dressed him up as Clark Kent, and then no one recognized him the rest of the
I
way.
had the scene backwards. Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I thought that was a cute little scene between the two of them. My second one is in the same scene, right when he's walking in, someone is dressed, their character is Beetlejuice. And Beetlejuice is like one of my top 3 movies of all time. And I really like that for personal reasons. And my number 1 is The Shining. The whole part, it was my favorite part of the movie. It was hilarious. We said it before, you knew what was coming, but I still was, on the edge of my seat waiting for H to go look to see what was behind the shower curtain and go in the maze and run through the maze. And I thought it was the most entertaining and well done portion of the movie.
I'm curious if Josh and I's number 1 are just going to be the same thing.
Well, we'll see, Tom. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Go ahead with your list.
So I guess my third favorite thing in the movie, and maybe Spielberg didn't even do this on purpose, but I liked that the final key to access the egg was an ice key, which confirms to me that Steven Spielberg must be a fan of Banjo-Kazooie, because Banjo-Kazooie has some very famous hidden eggs, part of which you can only access with an ice key. So I'm going to just assume that's what he was doing. Good job, Steven. Proud of you.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah, you're right.
My second thing would be hearing Simon Pegg's amazing American accent. I don't actually remember if I've ever seen a movie where he's done an American accent before, but there was a couple stretches of the movie before in my head, I was like, that's not Simon Pegg. His American accent's too good. But the more I was like, oh, it is? Oh, it is. Wow, good for him. So really good small performance from him, just because I was surprised by talent that I didn't know he had.
Yeah, and they even joked about him doing a really good British accent at the end
Seriously?
of the movie because he was the butler or whatever he was at the library.
Mm-hmm. And see, in those moments, I was like, oh, see, that's Simon Pegg voicing the robot guy. Okay, so who's this other guy who looks like Simon Pegg? But then I was like, oh, it's all right.
The thing is, going back and rewatching it, you can hear Simon Pegg's voice in the curator of the journals. But
that's what we're referencing. Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, I'm saying going back though, you can actually hear it.
Once you know who it is, then you can hear it.
You're like, oh, that's definitely Simon Pegg's voice.
Okay. Yep. So, my number 1 is indisputably the Shining sequence, just because it's so masterfully recreated from the original movie. Spielberg nails in an all CG set. In an all CG set, he recreates the Overlook Hotel down to like the lighting of the original movie, the freaking textures on the walls and the carpets. Like, but if it weren't for these CG characters, I would have assumed they rebuilt the sets from The Shining and just used them. All the gags I think are good and in good faith. It's just having fun with a classic movie. I liked it a lot, and I thought it was the most entertaining section of the movie. Can I give like a 1B, or am I just stuck with my number one?
What's your 1B, Tom?
So if I could give a 1B real quick, it would have to be both the opening chase scene, just in how mesmerizing of an action set piece it is and how well constructed it is, but then the solution to the first puzzle is appreciating the chase scene from another angle and seeing how it all comes together. Like, I liked those two pieces of the movie in unison. Really, really good stuff.
Yeah, the going backwards and going under and through that portion of the game made you remember that it was just a game. Mm-hmm. It's not another world. It's a game, and now you kind of get to see it through those eyes. I like that part too.
So Josh?
So I'm going to start with my number 3, being something that is just really nice to see throughout the whole movie. And they actually appear several times in the movie, and it's kind of weird that those characters are. But just seeing the Battletoads in action.
Yeah.
Like, when you saw them just hanging out at the bar during the dance scene that they had, like, I was like, okay, like, that I just like seeing them. Or even in the fight at the end, just kind of kicking ass and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, fuck yeah. Like, I want more. Everyone needs more Battletoads in their life.
Is this the first time that a creation that was a parody of one thing was featured in a movie with the thing they were parodying? Because the Battletoads were in a movie with the Ninja Turtles?
As I can remember, yeah. Because it's so weird and crazy that two things from your childhood that were pretty much ripoffs. It's like having the VR Troopers and the Power Rangers meet each other. Mm. Number 2 on my list would be the Shining scene, which I feel like it's an easy cop-out because it's a significant part of the movie itself.
Okay, Josh, so explain why you hate Joy.
It's not that I hate Joy. It's just that
there was another part that you loved more.
Yeah. I mean, it was great, and it was funny, and it had me laughing. I can't say anything that you guys already haven't said.
Right.
Like, it's a great scene. It's worth the price of admission to go see the movie just for that scene, I think. Mm-hmm. I mean, it really was the standout moment of the movie. But when it came down to like things that I loved about the movie, my number 1, this is pretty much the Iron Giant sequel that I wish we had.
I know.
Because, man, do I love the Iron Giant. Mm-hmm. And then actually seeing him in another movie for a good portion of the movie, too. Like, he was there at the beginning. He was there throughout the entire end of it. The Iron Giant fought Mechagodzilla, Tom.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little against everything the Iron Giant stood for, but, I mean, sure. I like getting more of it.
He was Superman.
But he was also a gun. You don't have to be a gun.
I liked how they teased it. Like, they showed it to you in the beginning in the garage, in H's garage, and then they showed you it again, and you're like, okay, all right.
It makes me upset that they showed it in the trailer, though, because I think when they were building up to the end fight, when they were in there, she could have been like, oh, I'll be right back. Like, I know what I need. Mm-hmm. And then she goes and actually puts the suit together. That would have just been fine. Like, don't spoil that in the movie. But, like, I understand, like, when you watch the trailer, like, when I first watched the trailer, I was like, is that the fucking Iron Giant? Like, Oh my God. Yeah. But seeing a character from a movie from your childhood, and, like, you always wished, because the Iron Giant ended when it looked like he was starting to put himself back together. Remember, the bolts started to move, and it was like, oh, and it's like all the pieces were starting to gather throughout the world. Mm-hmm. To actually being able to see him in another movie now, it was like your childhood just kind of came right back.
Yeah.
And like I said, you had the Battletoads, you had Ninja Turtles, you had, like, this movie was our childhood.
Yeah.
Kind of our childhood and current.
Yeah.
Like everything that we loved in the past and things that we love now have come together into just this one giant KitchenAid mixer. Like, I love it. I loved every part of it.
How dare you tell me that I loved Jared Leto's Joker? Because I do not love Jared Leto's Joker, and he was in this movie.
That looked more like the Killing Joke Joker than.
Nah,
we got the Harley Quinn from Arkham.
We did, and that was the one I was like, okay, fine. If we're gonna put Harley in the movie, don't use Margaret Robbie's. But okay. So
I love that we'd even mention that Batman's in the movie too. Like,
yeah, he'll help you climb the mountain, Mount Everest.
yeah, it's the movie kind of treats it as a throwaway line. You know what I mean? Like they don't want to focus too much on him. I guess it's weird.
Yeah.
I understand, but I mean, it's all good. It's all good.
And Josh's 1B is the Prince outfit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you dressed up as? I was like, oh, that's great. That's fantastic. Like, I was so excited to see it. But, yeah.
Would you guys recommend this movie? Would you have someone spend the money or wait until it's on Netflix to see it?
I'm actually curious if this movie's going to suffer from not being seen in theaters. Because I just, like I said at the beginning, it's very, very well put together spectacle, and I'm just wondering if you're going to get that effect on the TV. I mean, you can probably see things, like, you can probably pause it. Yeah, you can pause it and catch references clearer, but I'm like, are you going to be, like, in awe the way you are in a movie theater? I don't know. But I would absolutely recommend it in a movie theater, and I guess down the line, whatever. I think it's a very fun movie, very enjoyable movie. You should definitely check it out.
This is I'm pretty much considering this the start of the summer blockbusters, even though it's the end of March. But this is coming out before Avengers. This is coming out before Deadpool. This is coming out before Solo. So, like, those are going to destroy when they come out. This right now is, I'm considering it like the first like summer blockbuster movie because it's Spielberg. You know,
not,
like Tom
not
said,
Black Panther. The $600 million movie.
No, that's not summertime.
It was like
Neither is March.
2 weeks ago.
No, but it's like when you think of Spielberg movies and stuff like that, you usually think of like the big blockbuster films that he does, and like you said, that this is a spectacle that I think going and seeing it in theaters, like, just if you're into nerd culture, I think it's absolutely worth it. If you're someone who's just going to see it as a movie, I don't think you're going to understand a lot of the references. You might catch, like one or two things that you're like, oh, I know that, or I remember this, or something like that. But I think if you're looking for like a nostalgic trip, this is a great movie to see in theaters. I think when it comes out on like Blu-ray, like, definitely pick it up. Because, like I said, there's going to be so much more that you're going to be able to see. Apparently, Sonic the Hedgehog's in the movie. Like, during that final battle, fighting. And exactly, like...
We need to go frame by frame and see.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I think it's going to benefit a little bit more being at home because you're going to be able to see so much more of what's going on. In the theaters, you might have missed a couple lines here and there because people were laughing. Like, we talked about the Chuck scene. Mm-hmm. And it's I think I strongly recommend it for people who are well versed in video game and pop culture, but if you're not, don't see it. But I recommend, like, I would go see it again.
Right.
Okay.
I think the references made the movie, and the cameos, whatever you want to call them, they made the movie. They made it fun. They gave you something to look out for. They contributed to all the best scenes, like The Shining, obviously. And I think it's fun. It's enjoyable. I do agree that if you're not into video games or pop culture, you're really not going to get that fun, nostalgic feeling that those who are will. But it's still worth the watch. It's entertaining enough that you can follow along without understanding the pop culture references. I'd recommend going to see it in theaters. Like you said, Tom, it's kind of a big screen movie, but if you want to wait until it comes out on streaming or to buy it, I think you're okay to wait. It's not something you need to see right now, but it's a really fun, well put together thought through movie.
Yeah, the storyline in the main world is probably the poorest, like the weakest part of the film. It's just there's a lot of things, a lot of stupid decisions and whatnot. And I understand they're kind of kids, but they're not kids. Like they're young adults. We'll
Yeah,
say.
I really didn't know how old they were supposed to be. Did they say at all?
I just got the impression like Wade and H were supposed to be like between early and mid 20s. The same with Sam / Artemis, and then Sho and Daito were explicitly younger and like even like
Yeah.
said to be younger. So like yeah, I'd say like maybe the max any of them were supposed to be was like 25.
Yeah, they didn't show, I mean, they showed kids in school, but they didn't show any of the main characters attending school or college or anything. So I couldn't get a feel for how old they were. I just knew they were on the younger side.
So out of 5, what do you give it, Tom?
4.
Becca?
3.7. Not quite a 4 because it's,
Yeah, with the weak real world story that's in there, I'd give it probably about a 3.5. Like the Easter eggs and the cameos overall, I think are worth it.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, if you're not into that kind of stuff and that's not like what your life is based around, you're gonna get lost in a really weak love story against taking down the man.
Yeah. Yarp.
So thanks for joining us on this episode of 3 to Play Reviews. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Feel free to like, review, comment, and share, and let us know what you thought of Ready Player One. And until next time, this has been
Tom?
Becca?
and Josh. And remember, you may not be a fan of reality, but it's the only place that you can grab a decent meal.